So when you get a book that's banned, that means there's something in there that you need to know. So this book is called History of Central Banking. What does Hitler, JFK, Lincoln, Gaddafi, Napoleon, Julius Caesar, Tsar Nicholas II have in common? They all tried to do state banking and they all got either killed or thrown into a war.
If you deposit $10,000 into the bank sets aside 10% or $1,000 and then loans out the rest of your money. The way it works is, say another person comes into the bank and asks for a car loan of $9,000. At this moment, the bank loans out the $9,000 from your original deposit. It isn't there anymore. The borrower then pays the person selling the car and they go deposit the money into another bank, which is part of the same central banking system. This $9,000 is treated as a new deposit and the process continues. The money gets redeposited and reloaned until the initial deposit of $10,000 becomes $100,000. The banking system just created $90,000 by loaning out your money.
That's right, they made it all up.
Once you get up to the top, there's a lot of conversation very much about the best thing about being rich is just ignoring the law. Look at when a bank decides to do some malpractice and make $1 billion and then pay a $200 million fine. If the punishment for a crime is a fine, then the activity is legal for a price.
A man in Brooklyn, New York lost his $800,000 home that was paid off due to a $5,000 water bill. And according to the municipal laws, unpaid utility bills can lead to liens on your property. So according to the story, it wasn't because he didn't pay his water bill. It was due to an old bill that he had no idea about. And they auctioned his home off to a private owner, a private investor, without his knowledge. Like, how is this able to happen? This is why I encourage everyone to band together, buy property, buy land, do it together, and stop depending on this system. Because you think you own your home and you don't. And I've been explaining this to people so much, that all these backdoor situations will allow these private companies, these private investors to come in and swoop in on your property without you knowing it, because of these little bylaws, these little back doors that they come through that you have no idea about. And it has to stop. It's just going to get worse, y'all. Like 2030 is coming down the pipeline. It's just going to get worse. And they're doing it all over the place. You're like, oh, it won't happen to me. It won't happen to me, until it does. But y'all won't listen to me.
You know Angie Stone? No. Okay, she just died, right? And before she died, she was speaking out about how Universal Records owes her a lot of money. Prince, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, all these people who created a catalog that's worth billions, they barely getting by. Eventually, you look at your circumstances and you can't take care of your loved ones, and it's like, wow, I'm supposed to be worth billions. Like, where's all my money? And you get to the point you want to stand up and try to fight for your money, and it's like, why when they stand up? Why when R. Kelly wanted his money, why was he indicted? You know what I mean? Why when Angie Stone tried to fight for her money, she died? Why when Whitney Houston wanted her money, she died? Why when Prince started talking about this stuff, you know, he died? Eventually, people got to start reading between those lines and see that there's something going on behind the scenes.
I want you to understand something about slavery in general. If you were to say to me right now, Andrew, you can have slaves, I'd say, okay. You have to house them, you have to feed them, you have to give them medical care to make sure they stay alive, and then you have to somehow get them to work hard at the best of their ability, even though they're not motivated because they're slaves. That sounds very difficult, it sounds expensive, it sounds like a lot of work. It's much easier to just pay these people a very low wage, in which they can barely afford their own house, barely afford their own food, so they're still enslaved for a little bit of money, barely afford their own medical care, but they still have to do everything I say. Wage slavery has replaced traditional slavery because it's easier for the elites to keep you a wagee than it is to make you a slave. If they could somehow make you work hard as a slave without you rioting, they would. But instead, they'd rather just use this wage slavery system. Let's make sure the money inflates. Let's make sure everyone's poor. This is why we always talk about making money to escape the matrix.
You know why people don't think it's easy to make $1 million? Because they go to school. And school is the worst thing you can send your children to. I said that. The whole school is cool, keep kids in school, that is propaganda, and here's why. Do you know who founded and funded the General Board of Education?
The Rockefellers.
John D. Rockefeller. Yeah. Do you know what he said?
He wants everybody to be employees.
Yep. He said, I am not in the business of making a nation of thinkers. I'm in the business of making a nation of workers. Everything you learn in school, every single solitary thing about how to think, you learn because school has taught you to think that way. way. They taught you to think like an employee. They taught you to think like a poor person, because if everyone was rich, the economy would fall apart. Therefore, we can't have too many rich people. So what do? We put kids into indoctrination camps to show them how to be an employee. And then they go out in the world and they think like an employee, so they stay an employee. They don't become entrepreneurs. They don't become rich. Why do you think they ask you, raise your hand to go to the bathroom? What kind of sick shit is that? I gotta piss. I gotta raise my fucking hand to go to the bathroom? Like, really think about that. That's fucked up.
It's this idea that, profit incentives is the only thing that can make humans do things, get up out of bed every day, which has never been the case. Historically, it's not the case. Psychologically.
Historically, it's never been the case?
No.
What has been the case?
So we've seen...
What's been the incentive?
The incentive is intrinsic motivation. Passion.
Intrinsic motivation?
Of course. Have you ever heard of intrinsic motivation?
Of course I have. So you think people are going to go just do anything for no incentive? So what's the alternative? So give me another solution, another economical system.
May I finish the talking point?
Yeah, actually, I'm
awesome.
curious.
So the psychological theory of self-determination is widely accepted in psychology. It basically explains that intrinsic motivation and passion is actually what predicts incentive. You're arguing that incentive is integral to profit-driven motivation. That's not true. Intrinsic motivation, at all times, at every single case, is going to, predict less creativity, less motivation, less skill, etc. Intrinsic motivation is what causes things like technological development. Some of the greatest breakthroughs have been from people who are devoted in honing their skill.
What college did you go to? You went to USC. What did you major in? Who's your hero as a professor? Who's the professor you look up to?
This doesn't seem like a topic that's related to
I asked this question?
Islam, Shalom, Hola, Aloha, Bonjour, Osio, Assalamu Alaikum. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live in full effect. Like, share, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell down below so you can be notified whenever I'm dropping some new content. Leave a comment, interact with me. Thanks, I really do appreciate your viewership. Jump into another one. Hopefully you all appreciate it and enjoyed those clips at the beginning. Help me drive my point home on this financial literacy. These banking systems, they're not made for us. They're made for the people who control the banks. They're set up, to benefit the ultra wealthy and to pretty much make the rest of us debt slaves. I enjoyed the clip when the one guy was saying how school is like set up, of course, by the Rockefellers. I spoke about it before in my video. Is the U.S. education system broken? Yeah, honestly, I learned a fair amount in public school, but most of the valuable things that I've learned, honestly, I learned them on my own outside of school once I had the motivation to actually learn it myself. Learning about law, learning about history, the history that they don't teach us. Like, they barely touched on some of the subjects. So I kind of used the scraps and the scrapes that we touched on in school, elementary through middle school, through high school. And I kind of looked in more detail to some of those events and facts and stuff like that to really learn what's going on in history. And then it's very important to protect your assets, protect your finances, fam. Keep track, and keep well maintenance on your finances. Learn how to balance a checkbook. Learn how to write a check. I don't think a lot of the new children nowadays even know how to write out a paper check, right? So protecting your assets, being financially literate, and planning for your estate and protecting your future, so you can pass on your assets to your beneficiaries and your loved ones, right? The one gentleman who lost his house because of a water bill, I've heard about that happening a lot lately. People losing their homes through some unknown bill, a lien or something on the property, people losing their homes through HOAs, putting liens on their property from some kind of unpaid fines or something like that. It's very, very ridiculous, and it pretty much seems like theft, honestly. So putting your assets inside of a trust is very, very important. A revocable trust or irrevocable trust. If you really want to do top-notch asset protection, make sure you have that irrevocable trust set up, so assets cannot be taken from you without you and anybody else who's connected to that trust being informed and being protected by the full extent of the law, right? Very, very important. So I don't want to make this video too long. Hopefully you did enjoy those clips, and they help drive my point home, right? So it's very important to do your own research, do your own studying. Just try your best to stay financially ahead of the curve, right? We all know food prices are going up, inflation because of the devaluing of USD, and that note that was shown, the last clip, that note, the BRICS note, that currency is backed by gold. All right, that currency has the power to upset the global economic balance and powers. Right, so that's very important. That's why I'm saying that note can start a world war, and World War III could potentially be on the horizon. But you know, all prayers up. So yeah, I do want to do an unboxing. Excuse me. Once again, Atlas Bullion. Let's see what I got this time. So bear with me. Let's see what we got here. A few little things. Oh, that's nice. Somebody cut this card, but it's decent. Check this out. Hopefully you can see that it's legible. A nice little piece of gold there. Of course, 999 fine. Oh, that's pretty cool. Gold card. Alright, that's one piece. Let's see. And here's the second one I got here. That's also cool. Check it out. Two of these. That's some gold right there for you. Check it out. Mailbox gold. Comes right in the mail every month. Oh yeah, it's a cool little piece. 999 fine. 1/1000th of an ounce. Alright, that's 1/1000th of a troy ounce. And it says face value of 50 cents. But we all know that the face value of 50 cents is gold is worth way more than that by weight. Alright. So let's see, that's all. That's all. It's empty. Got so yeah, here's the back. Little Da Vinci-esque heart type stuff there. Hopefully you can see it. That's pretty cool. Gold and more gold in the mail. Alright. Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Adding more to my collection, you know. The price of gold and precious metals is always going up, so it's good to make a investment like that Instead of just having a pile of paper money, Federal Reserve notes, bills sitting around, not increasing in value, actually decreasing in value, it's good to get some precious metals, silver or gold, and the prices on that are always going up, as we see. So once again, this is your brother Zach Bay. Hopefully you enjoy my content. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing in the comments down below. Ask questions. Peace.